I want to continue exploring the healers at the highest end of gameplay in this second video, which is going to be focused on how the top ranking Savage Clear white mages go about contributing DPS and healing. So for the methods that I'm using in this video, I'm going to be bringing in FFLog's comma separated values into Google Sheets for analysis of 10 groups that have used white mages that are in the top 50 ranks of Eden's Promise Savage Clears. So let's break down the damage patterns first. So for all white mages, we can see that Glare makes up the most of their damage, by a huge margin actually. The Glare mage meme is, to say the least, an accurate one. We can see over the course of a fight that they casted on average 127 casts, with the minimum being 121 and then maximum at 142. That is a lot of Glare. Next up is Dia, where it has been split in the logs by its damage over time component and then its initial damage component. This leads to the white mage doing an average of about 2.5k DPS with Dia combined. What I will say I do find bizarre, is that I will come back to later, is that Dia is actually cast very rarely, given that it is really the only way for the white mage to do some damage and then do a skill weave. Unlike Scholars with Ruin 2 or Astrologans with Malefic, Dia is the only way to weave. And yet, looking at the average cast, we can see that it's at 16, with a minimum of 14, likely just for dot upkeep, and then a maximum of 22, which indicates that the highest level white mages are choosing to weave with other skills if possible. But I will revisit this once we go through the healing skills as well. Next up is Afflatus Misery, which is white mage's big Lily build-up spender skill. You use 3 Lily skills, Afflatus Solus or Afflatus Rapture, and then you get an Afflatus Misery that deals a huge amount of damage in an AOE. But we can see that it truly pales in comparison to Glare by a large margin, averaging only a bit over 900 DPS. When we are during a fight, we can see that the average number of casts is around 4.5, or we can expect about 13 uses of Afflatus Solus or Afflatus Misery used. That's just going off of 14.4 multiplied by 3 is going to be 13.2. Skipping to the healing section now, just for this little bit, we can see that Afflatus Solus and Afflatus Rapture average numbers combined adds up to 14, with the majority in Rapture. More on that coming up soon. Next up is Assize, which is a combination of off GCD heal and damage, resulting average of about 900 DPS, which we can see is going to, in terms of cast numbers, just average under 10 over the entire fight, which, pulling up the healing numbers for this skill, since we're already talking about Assize, the healing component is our third average highest HPS at 2.25 thousand HPS and maxing out at 2.75 thousand, and the minimum value is just under 1.6 thousand HPS. So no doubt Assize is getting a ton of mileage in terms of healing. But when we look at the overhealing, it's indicating that not all white mages are really that concerned about optimal use of Assize, with just an average overheal just barely under 50%, which is pretty high when you consider all things. So now that puts all of the damaging skills to the rest, and so now I want to really hone in on the healing side of the kit, which I think will be pretty interesting for a lot of us. I know it was for me. So the number 1 HPS ability is Afflatus Rapture by an absolute landslide, which is averaging just under 4k HPS. However, we do see a large gap between the minimum and maximum between 4.5k HPS and 2.2k HPS. So we're getting quite a large range here, guys. The average number of casts of this ability though is 13.7, and max being 15 and minimum at 12. And so this is definitely being used a heck of a lot. But when we look at overhealing, the average is at 20% and a maximum is at 45%. I suspect from cast numbers and overheal numbers that the minimum HPS was just from a white mage and their co-healer just competing to heal targets first. If you come from World of Warcraft, this would be like akin to heal sniping, which in FF14, when we're talking about raiding, can often just from healers not communicating effectively. I'm going to use this skill at this time. Oh wait, we both use it? Oh no. Next up is Asylum at a whopping 2.7k average HPS, and the maximum is a mind-blowing 3.5k HPS contribution. The average overheal is decently high though at 36.12%, but when we're talking about large AoE skills that tick over time, some overheal like that is pretty expected. I've already talked about Assize at 3rd place, so I'm not going to go over that again. In the 4th spot is the Medica 2 skill. Specifically, we're talking about the heal over time component is in the 4th slot, but what I did here was I just combined the initial heal with the heal over time, which resulted in a combined total HPS of 2.1k. But we can see that the maximum was a pretty massive 4k HPS, so it's obvious when the skill is used a lot, it can produce the values for sure. The minimum on the flip side was a bizarrely low 700 HPS. I really was shocked to see that. The average number of casts of Medica 2 was at 4, and now while I don't mean that to be that alarming, I need to admit I'm kind of surprised. Medica 2 obviously is being used very sparsely at the highest ends of rating, so clearly that's something to make note of. The minimum number of casts was bizarre at 2, and then the maximum was 8. More on AOE healing after I cover a bit more. Now we see Cure 3 bringing in just under 900 average HPS, but a maximum of 3k, which is definitely very large, and then a minimum of 0. So that maximum indicates that some mages are definitely able to utilize Cure 3 well, but generally speaking, Cure 3 is not a popular white mage skill to use. The average number of casts was 1.6, but the max was only at 5 and minimum at 0. So it's not that popular. The maximum overhealing, bearing in mind that this skill is a big burst heal, was a surprisingly low 35%. And I say that because a big bursty AoE heal like that does have a significant tendency to overheal. All healers know this all too well from overhealing warrior tanks accidentally overriding their Nascent Flash or Equilibrium and going, oh, oops. Now we get to Confession, which is a buff given by Plenary Indulgence skill. This combined with Afflatus Rapture, Medica, or Medica 2 is just a healing amplifier. It adds a flat potency more on top of those heals. Simple, but very effective. We can see that this skill alone on its own contributed just under 700 HPS, but maximally at 1.1k HPS and then minimally at, shockingly though, 300 HPS. I think that the overhealing values really explain a lot here because the average overheal is at 35%, which is kind of expected with this kind of skill, but the maximum was at an alarming 73%, which means that some white mages used it super well, and unfortunately others really weren't too worried about when they were using it or what overhealing they were getting. Now I want to talk about Regen, which is not to be confused with the baseline character regeneration that is passive and really not white mages healing, and this alarmed me to say the least. I'm still a little alarmed as I'm recording this. Regeneration was so excessively low that I had to triple check, quadruple check, penta-check, was I looking at FF logs wrong to make sure I didn't make an error here, because that's like the last thing I want to do is like spread misinformation. But Regen was just not a skill used often. Its average HPS was a staggering 132.82. Even the max HPS was only around 550. This averaged at 1 casts among the groups and then maxing out at 5 casts. And with all this data, the maximum overheal was at a very insanely large 82.5%. We don't see that overhealing that often, which indicates that it was mostly a complete waste. To say the least, I'm surprised because Regen is the highest potency heal on the GCD, I should say that on the GCD for 1 cast, at a potency of 1200, which is absolutely dwarfing any other GCD heal. I want to briefly mention some other interesting facts because now we've gone really to the lowest of the low end of the list. Most of the powerful off GCD heals like Tetragrammaton, we also have the 100% HP Benediction skill, we then have Divine Benison, which is the only shield that White Mage has. All of this combined to a total of 14 casts. I can understand Benediction because that's something that you want to save for like a Living Dead Dark Knight cheese mechanic, but the others were kind of shocking, and this all totaled up to an average HPS under 900, and that's just the 3 skills. I mean, rather, that is from 3 skills, which is crazy. I think what shocked me the most was Divine Benison, and since that is White Mage's only way to preemptively mitigate and comes at no cost or MP, averaged at 4.4 casts with a max of 8 and a minimum of literally 0. Healing the room here indicates to me that this was, generally speaking, the highest end white mages are probably just looking to minimize their weaves for off GCD abilities, especially because Dia is not that great of a skill to use as a weave. We're really seeing them hunker down on Glare and be like, I will only heal when I absolutely need to. And this is really confirmed when we look at the number of Dia casts being so low, 16 on average, that they aren't using Dia as a damage weave, which is what I would have actually personally expected, or use Regen as a weave. But we can kind of make sense on it because that significant potency drop from Glare is definitely something to keep in mind, and Glare is at 130 casts. 16 versus 130, that's very steep. This leads to another interesting takeaway that in terms of AoE healing, white mages are funneling all of their lilies, or almost all of their lilies, into Afflatus Rapture, and then likely combining that with Plenary Indulgence for the Confessions for that additional HPS burst. And they're using Asylum and Assize off of the global cooldown as their weaves to keep the party healthy. But this leaves Medica 2, let alone Medica 1, almost never being casted. Anyhow, that wraps up this video. Is there anything that you've particularly found interesting or shocking? Let me know in the comments, and please don't let me feel like I'm going crazy alone here. For me, I'm actually a little gobsmacked at seeing Regen be so incredibly low, and let alone Divine Benison. I actually figured that it would be crazy amounts higher from the Regen to help bolster tanks up. Anyhow, that is all for this video. Take care everyone and have a fantastic day.